Alrighty, welcome back to the Natty News Daily podcast. I am here with Raven Newsome, who is the Florida Pro Wellness Champion 2024. Raven, how you doing?
I'm great, Dan. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, thanks for coming on short notice. I know that we were just talking today and like let's record soon, so I put a little pressure on you, but I tried to relieve the pressure and like I said, we're gonna have a nice chat here. So why don't you just quickly give before we get into the weeds of bodybuilding and because we could talk bodybuilding all day, right? Let's why don't you give a quick introduction for just high level overview who you are, where you live, when you started bodybuilding, all that fun stuff, and then we'll get into some details and fun stuff.
All right, cool. So my name is Raven, and I currently live in Houston, Texas. I'm originally from Fort Worth, so kind of near the Dallas area. Not familiar. And I actually started my bodybuilding journey last October. So I haven't even been doing it for a year yet, and I've accomplished a lot in that year. So I'm very grateful for the speed of my success. And earlier this year, or I'm sorry, in October is when I won my pro card, my first show. And then shortly after that, 2 weeks later, I went home and did my pro debut. So it was only right to do it at.
Yep. Which shows, which organizations were those?
So my first show was with Onyx Naturals, and that's where I got my pro card. And then my pro debut was with Natural Fit Federation, and I won that Texas Classic also in November. And so then I took a little break and I came back to debut this year at the Florida Pro. So that was really fun. I was a little nervous because it wasn't a part of my original schedule, but I went out there, gave it my best, and won first in wellness as a pro wellness competitor. And I won the overall best pro in show. So that was crazy. I still can't even believe that happened, honestly.
That's awesome. And that's such a great show too. I hear so many good things about it. There's so many great competitors. And I'm assuming you did wellness in your October shows as well, correct? So you
So you said I do wellness in my other
yeah,
shows.
your first shows, yes.
Yeah, so I've only yeah.
I assume that was the case, but I didn't want to,
Oh yeah.
necessarily jump the gun and uh making bad assumptions. Um, so
I'm
what
clinic because I had no idea what was going on, and so I just kind of let them guide me, and they pulled me to Bikini. My heart was broken. I don't know. I just wanted to be a wellness girl, so it was cool to actually be successful in the division that I aspired to be.
what drew you to wellness specifically?
I like the shape of wellness, to be honest. Like it's that simple. I just feel like it transitions nicely over into your lifestyle. And for me, with my genetics, it kind of just I kind of hit those that that score sheet a little better than I would bikini. So, and
Sure.
I grew up so I've literally tried to be thin my whole life, my entire life. So yeah, it was nice to actually just embrace the curves and figure out how to mold that to fit a score sheet.
Yeah, and you got hella quads, so that helps you, right?
Ow! I work on them.
I can tell. I can tell. So when you say you that was kind of a look you aspire to, obviously wellness in general is a newer category and then particularly new within the natural scene. So do you have people that you looked up to? Did you look up to the IFBB wellness pros or did you see some of these new natural wellness pros like, wow, I like that?
So I actually, so I study and research all competitors. And that's kind of how I figured. Once I was told by my coach, that's who told me which category he felt like I would be, do better in and that my body type fit. And so from there, I would go and look up different wellness competitors, whether it was IFBB, NPC, natural, it didn't matter. And honestly, looking up, I'm glad I didn't limit myself to just looking up natural competitors because seeing all the competitors, especially watching Mr. America, the Olympia, the Natural Olympia, that seeing those bodies, that's what keeps me going. I'm like, no, I want to look like that. the natural way, but that's the goal. So it keeps me motivated to look at any competitor that is successful in this division specifically.
Very cool. Very cool. And then just with wellness being a newer category, where do you see it fitting in? Because some organizations have been, I'd say, resistant to introducing it into their organization. Others have been more willing. Where do you see the future of wellness? And I'm sure that to a certain degree the criteria and the judges are still kind of getting their heads around things. So what do you define as wellness? That's that's kind of like, I don't know, guiding you in a lot of directions, but I'm just spitballing here. I just want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, because I actually, because of how I saw my body type, I was like, oh, well, I guess I could see why people would um, encourage me to go more towards bikini, especially when I look at the NPC and IFBB bikini girls. To me, that looks like wellness. And I always have heard that wellness is, or since I've started, I've heard that wellness is lower body dominant. Um, in some federations, they want to see your back, and some they don't really care to see your back. But the word that I have taken into like that I literally live by, especially because you can get caught up in comparing yourself to other competitors or hearing, especially since I'm new, I hear a lot of feedback. But it's all about being complete. So as long as I hit that score sheet, and I talk to the judges after every show. I have yet to lose a show, so I'm grateful for that. But I still go and get feedback from the judges. And so far, even at Florida Pro, I've been told that I am the criteria. So I don't take that lightly. And it's like, okay, so keep doing what I'm doing. But also, in order to get better, I know that quads, glutes, like those are muscle groups that they want to see pop, but not to where it's overpowering your upper body either. And I'm glad, especially being a cheerleader, that I can't get rid of my upper body even if I want to. So I'm glad that that also meets the criteria as well. Does that kind of answer your question or no? Or no?
It does, yes, yeah. And it kind of makes the distinction a little bit more uh from bikini too, right? With they're not trying to see I'd say bikini is very lower body dominant versus wellness. It sounds like they still want to see that upper body muscle, but just even more heavily muscled down below, right?
It seems more balanced, but I mean, I guess it all has a different, depending on the criteria, it's
Yeah.
balanced like respective field. But for I see wellness becoming a division where a lot more people might actually get into bodybuilding because something that kind of deterred me from it when I was interested years ago, I'm like, well, I don't fit that body type. And so wellness kind of gives more room for some of the other pros that I've met. They are crossover from figure. They're crossover from bikini. Like if you have a few babies, you might not be bikini anymore. And if you want to grow your glutes, you might switch over from figure to wellness. So I think it's a nice like middle ground, and I think it's going to encourage a lot more people to try it.
Yeah, well, it's obviously become quite popular across natural and untested organizations. So it seems like the demand's there, and people want to see wellness and are interested in wellness and want to compete in wellness. So um, yeah, yeah. So let's talk Florida. Oh, I can't
So
hear you.
I was just saying that makes it more fun for the competitors too.
It does. It does. So let's talk Florida Pro then. So why don't you go into detail about that show experience? Like I said, I've heard lots of good things about that show, and I believe you came away with another big uh title or award or whatever you want to call whatever I want to call it here from that show. Why don't you talk about that too?
So Florida Pro, it took place in June, and I originally started my prep in February. And so it wasn't a part of my original schedule, but my coach brought the opportunity to me, and I'm blessed to have sponsors that I kind of get to take on these opportunities and not have to worry about the little things. So I was able to fly down to Florida. My parents met me there. And I got to compete against some big names in the industry. And for it to be my first year competing, I was definitely nervous, but I just wanted to do well. I've tried out for, uh, since my background is cheerleading, I've tried out for pro teams in the past. And I heard that with Florida Pro, you got to pick your own music for your routine. And honestly, that was my selling point. Like that's what made me like, okay, I'll go because I wanted to perform to a specific song. And
Song.
huh?
What was the song?
It's School and Life by Beyonce. So it talks about just how you go through the different stages in your life, and you don't necessarily need to have a degree, which I have a degree, so it's kind of contradicting. But for the portion of the song that I picked, every part of it just told my story, and so it was really cool. And in cheerleading, I won championships there in Florida, so it was like a full circle moment to be back, but in a different way. Um, so I got to Florida. All of my teammates and my coach, because I had another teammate who competed there as well, and everybody's flights were delayed. So it was just me and my parents, and they don't really understand bodybuilding and the meal prep and all that. So it was my first traveling show. So I didn't realize that they don't have an HEB in Florida. So I was like, oh man, like I didn't realize the little things that go with traveling to compete. So I was cooking in my hotel room, trying not to set off the smoke alarms and practicing going and seeing the stage. And then eventually when my coach got there, we did some run throughs and I found out that I was going against Gabby, the previous Miss America Wellness. And I usually don't get stage fright, but that shook me up. And then just seeing the other women who were competing in the division, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a whole different ball game. Like being out of state, but also competing against other people who already have won titles. So I did well in my division. I placed first. And then they brought all the pros back out because we were supposed to get a picture with our ring. And they actually ended up doing a final award for the best pro in show. And so I was just up there enjoying the experience, drum rolling, and then they called my name, and I was like, oh my god, that's great. So it was a great experience. I won a belt. I have brothers. I have two brothers and a sister, and so they have rings, and we always like compare our rings, trophies, but nobody has a belt. So I'm winning. I'm winning so far
You're
in the
top
family.
dog in the family, huh?
Alex, they can't tell me nothing. Yeah, it's
Oh,
pretty.
let me see the ring. I see you got it on there.
Yes, yes, it's so pretty.
That's
And
very cool. That's very cool. I love when the national shows are giving away prizes like that or trophies and things like that that are just cool and they're legitimate.
yes, and what I can say honestly about the Florida Pro and Daryl, specifically the promoter, from the time you get there and check in, it doesn't matter if you win or not, you feel like a winner. They're giving you backpacks, t-shirts, like you're getting all these things. And that's just from check-ins. And so I came home with like two backpacks, a crown, the ring, and the belt, a backpack full of clothes, like clothing from brands. Like they really treat their pros well, and it keeps that incentive. Like it makes you want to go back. So I
Yeah,
definitely want to go back next year
I
to
love.
defend my. But like even after the show, they had an after party. You get to network and just mingle with people. So after the competition, you actually just get to connect, and it was really fun. I'm not gonna lie, it was my favorite show so far.
What did you guys do after the show then? Was it just an informal thing or did they set something up or did you guys go out or
So it was in the ballroom. So there's the ballroom where the competition was. There's another ballroom, and they had like a party, a 360, the little camera thing, and then cake, a lot.
I'm sure there was lots of cake left at the end of the night, right?
No, I didn't see. And they had a bar there. It was fun. It was a good time for sure.
So that sounds like it was a blast. And yeah, I love to hear when shows treat their pros like professionals and treat them well and that they incentivize them to compete, want to come back and share their experience and mingle with athletes and connect with other athletes. So sounds like you were able to do that and do that in front of your family too, which I think is amazing.
Specifically my parents. Like, yeah, my siblings were all kind of spread out, but the fact that my parents got to experience that with me, they understand it differently. Because they also saw the little things that go into, well, they're not little, but just going the things that go into getting ready for a show down to the night before. They're like, you're eating another rice cake? Yes, I am. I actually have to eat 7 more. So please stop asking me. Please stop asking me, please. I'm like, oh, you have to eat all that? Yes, I do. They
Gotta be full on stage, right?
have to, yes. They're like, you can't have any water to wash that down? No, I can't. My mouth is sore. No, it doesn't make sense right now. But once they saw me on that stage, they were very proud. So it was great.
That's amazing. And it's good to get people from outside of bodybuilding to a show like that where it is a professional show and they could say, "Oh, wow, this is cool," right?
By the time I got to Florida, so the first 2 shows, my dad was a little iffy on the swimsuit and all that. But by the time I got to Florida, my family got to stream it, so that was great. So it felt like everyone was really there. But now he's a lot more comfortable showing me off. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And then I we kind of jumped around. I asked you about the extra title that you won. And then we jumped into other topic. I told you we just run, right, with this podcast. What was the criteria for that? What did they say was the how did you win that? Like what did they say? Was it your aura, your energy, and you said you're kind of really feeling it down there. Is that part of what was
So crazy. That's a great question. And I believe my coach interviewed, like backstage, did some behind the scenes interviews with the judges who chose Best Pro and Show. But I can honestly say I'm not sure. I know that it had to do with my presentation. Um, but as far as, so I'm not actually sure as far as the criteria of what rewards the Best Pro and Show. But I do know, you know what? I think I'm the only pro who I scored the highest on my score sheet. So across all the pros who competed in their division, I scored the highest when they compared them. And I went against, and it was so cool because it was against men too. So like it was a co-ed situation.
WrestleMania? I saw that video. It was everyone on stage and all the winners.
So from wings to um, the men's physique, figure, like everybody. So I was like, oh wow, it's an honor, honestly, like truly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Um, yeah, that's super cool. I'm glad you had such a great experience and at a professional show like that. So what's on deck for the rest of the year then for you? Not to get too carried away with like what's next, but um,
Um, I have about 3, maybe 4 shows actually to move. And I'm a personal trainer here, so um, just depending on my schedule for August, I'm not sure if I'm doing an August show, but I do have a show lined up each month until November. But I will be competing in Mr.
I
America.
was,
So
I was gonna ask you, will I see it to Mr. America?
yes, you will. I'm so excited about that show. I get to see Gabby again, so that'll be fun. And
Oh,
I like,
rematch.
yeah, yeah, I'm excited. And she was such a great like sport and energy. Like after the show was over, I love that. I guess I didn't expect in bodybuilding for everyone to be cool after, but um, after the show's over, we're living life, and so she really poured into me, encouraged me to keep competing, and I look forward to doing Mr. America because I know I'll see some of the same faces I saw at Florida Pro.
Yeah, Gabby's cool. I met her at the Mr. America last year, so
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that general sentiment too. A lot of the competitors are just down to earth, cool people. Especially a lot of I find especially a lot of the top pros, like a lot of them are just cool people, cool dudes, cool girls, and you know, supportive of one another, and competitive, right? But supportive of one another, and I think I think the natural bodybuilding community is pretty incredible. So I'm glad that you're experiencing similar to what I have. So
Yeah.
I look
I,
forward to going to shows and to competing at shows and all that stuff.
it's just different. I don't know, and I don't know what to compare it to. But just being an athlete, different sports growing up, like all the way through college, it's nice that even though it's a single sport, you still have that. So that makes it fun, and it makes you want to keep doing it because all you can do is bring your best to the stage. Somebody's better than you. I mean, you want to go against the best. So like it's fun competition. It's healthy competition. So I enjoy it.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's I don't know exactly, but it's an individual sport, so you kind of I don't know like, but like since it is such an individual sport, I think a lot of us are just like a lot of times kind of with the weirdos in our world normally, and then to collect them all together, it's like, oh, okay, we're all weirdos, so we're
First together and not expect it. Like and us not. It's like you're even if you're. I don't want to say misunderstood, but when you're in prep, you kind of have to go into your own little bubble. But
yeah.
now you're bubbles into the same like atmosphere. So we have no choice but to connect with somebody.
Yeah, and a lot of us are all spread out across the country, and at least for me, like, I'm connected with a lot of people on Instagram, and I only get to see them so often, so to be able to connect in person, I think it's always a good time. I certainly treasure those experiences that I get and look back fondly and look forward fondly to when I do get to do that. So, um,
Call you name when you do run into people that you've connected with through Instagram?
what was that?
Do they usually call you like refer to you by your Instagram name or do they call you your real name?
Some people do. It just depends. I think most people probably know me by my first name at this point, but
Yep.
yeah, you definitely get people. Oh yeah, DC Hyper Strength. Like yeah, that's there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That is actually a funny part about it is sometimes we know people by their Instagram handle.
oh yeah. A lot of people don't know my name is Raven. It's itty bitty. That's what I get. That's that's my new alias. I'm
What
okay with it.
Where does that come from?
Oh, wow. My dad, he has a lot of nicknames for me, and one of them is Lil Old Bitty, like Lil Old Bitty thing or whatever. And so when I was changing my Instagram name, like after college, I was like, I like Itty Bitty, and I felt like I wanted to like use it as a brand for like different clothing and stuff. And so I just made Itty Bitty Boss, and it just kind of stuck. But yeah, it originally came from my dad.
Yeah, but the quads aren't itty bitty anymore, right?
No, that's where the boss comes from.
Yeah, they had to amend it. Yeah, you had to add on that.
Yeah, it has to know. It's been a good time.
So what other shows are on your schedule? You said you're competing through November then. So obviously Mr. America in October, which like I said, I will see you there. And
Yay! Meet you in real life. See?
yes.
uh, I am doing Legacy Classic. That is in September. So that's going to be with Onyx again. So I like to go back. I like to make sure I compete in federations where I've already, like where I went pro with Onyx, but also, I don't know, just to keep those relationships active. So I'll be doing Legacy Classic in September, and then October is Mr. America, and then November will be the NFF Championships. So yeah, going to touch each federation one more time.
Very cool. Very cool. So you got an exciting rest of your year and yeah, a couple months here coming up. So what are your objectives and goals for those shows?
I want to, so I'm never satisfied. I take a routine, even at Florida Pro, I take a routine and I pick it apart. Or some federations, like with Onyx, they don't require quarter turns. So sometimes I have to do quarter turns, sometimes I don't. I just want to get better each show. And I'm literally trying to beat the Raven from my very first show. I've never seen my body look like that. And just been so disciplined and hungry for something. So I'm always competing against rookie Raven. She was crazy. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to keep up with her. But overall, just to have fun and continue to challenge myself. Because the more disciplined I am, the more I see change in my body, in my quads. And then also, I turned 30 this year. So I am trying to close out my 20s with a bang. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, you got an exciting year ahead of you. So, um, why don't we close this discussion off with a message for some of the younger athletes? That's something we often do on this podcast, but I think for you as a you started competing a year ago, but you're competing in a newer division and something that a division that you said you were very drawn to, like you love wellness and you thought it was a good just entry point, for lack of a better term, to get people into the sport. So what would you say to a younger athlete and suggest for a younger athlete that's looking to get into sport, maybe looking to get into wellness?
Well, if you're looking to get into the sport, I think it's so important to get a good coach. And get a coach you can trust. Do your research because I have a great coach, James Mickles. Like that has become like a brother to me. But you have to be able to be transparent with your coach and really have a good relationship with them. So having a good coach that you can be obedient to, that sounds crazy to say. But like you have to be able to trust the process and trust who's leading you. So I think having a good coach and being flexible because again, I originally got pulled in for bikini. And once I found the right coach, he was like, no, that's not for you. But just being, I was willing though. I was willing to do bikini. I was willing to do figure, whatever is what my body will fit the criteria. So just being
That's
open.
that
Mm-hmm.
speaks to that trust you mentioned, right? You said you should trust your coach, and you trusted your coach with that judgment. And obviously, you did very well in wellness, so that was a good decision for you to trust your coach, right? So I want to
Stubborn, but I
emphasize that.
I was a little stubborn just because I love food. So like I was like, what do you mean? Like, are you sure? Like, but because I was able to. I think that made my process a lot more mm, beneficial. Like so, because I didn't have to sneak and do things, or because I wasn't scared to ask him why. That made a big difference. And and then once you do what you're supposed to do, you see the results. It kind of just speaks for itself, and you make adjustments as you need. And as far as any competitors wanting to get into wellness, I would say again, just be flexible because wellness isn't for everybody. And even if you think that your body type doesn't fit it, follow the process, be obedient to the program, and I feel like the results will lead you. Like allow the alignment to be your compass. Like whatever you're aligning with, if your back is getting bigger or if you're fitting another criteria, I don't want to use the cheesy phrase, the big back, the but if you're fitting another criteria, that's okay because you want to be successful in what you're doing. So, but wellness is fun, and I think it is kind of more for everybody, honestly. But that's my personal opinion. My coach probably wouldn't even agree with that. But I think it's somewhere where there's not really an age limit. I see one of the competitors I look up to the most is over 40 years old. So, I mean, don't be afraid to try natural. If you want to try different federations, just be open. I think is being open minded is what got me here. Open minded and obedient.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. Yeah, and I love that you touched on the longevity, especially within the natural federations. It's definitely there, and I think your positive positive outlook and positive demeanor, I think, is something that will encourage people to feel comfortable and want to compete. So I love that you bring that and bring that to the natural bodybuilding community and the wellness community. So. Like I said, Raven, I really appreciate you jumping on this podcast, like I said, on short notice, and I hope I made you feel comfortable because I know that I kind of sprung it on you. Um,
abort, abort, abort. No, no, no.
you never just shut off the camera like, oh, cut it, cut it.
Oh, but it was okay. I have fun, and it was
Awesome, awesome. So where can people find you? Why don't you plug your socials, plug your coaching, all that fun stuff.
okay. For socials, I am at Itty Bitty Boss, ITTYBITTY_boss. Or you can type in Raven Alana. I think I'm the only Raven Alana in the world. I would love to believe that. Um, and as far as my training, once you find my page, you'll see Reps with Ray, and you can go on there just to be inspired. And if you want to plug in, I do online training, in-person training. I'm located here in Houston. And even if you want to just get a workout of the day, I guarantee you will find something that you want to try.
Awesome, awesome. Raven, thank you for coming on. And if you're a wellness girl, look out for Raven this year, and we'll look out for her on the Mr. America stage. And I will see you in October in Atlantic City.
Thank you for having me, Dan. It was nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Yeah, great to meet you, and good. We'll be. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person in a few weeks here. So,
Sure.
thank you, Raven. What
10
was that?
weeks. My life is measured in weeks now. So I'll see you in 10 weeks.
See you. 10 weeks. 10 weeks. Alrighty. If you like this podcast, you have more questions or anything, feel free to direct them to Raven and follow her along to the Mr. America. Thanks everyone for tuning in.